The obvious question, why are you still in an alliance with an ANC that is obviously against what you as a Communist Party stands for?
Yeah, that's a big question that we always discuss. And sometimes this question is also manipulated by forces, anti-communist party forces, rather than generally as a question of interest. But let me say this. The first is that the unity of all liberation forces is important. And we have always in the past sought to safeguard that. And that's why even recently, the party has since 2007 at its own Congress passed resolutions, which was repeated in 2012, 2017, and 2022 on the reconfiguration of the alliance.
Yes.
Basically, calling for the manner in which the alliance operates to change so that we adapt to the new realities and we adapt to the question of governance so that we're not accountable for things that we have not done. And that process has not taken place. Despite that, there's been some huge agreement on this question. For instance, in 2019, the alliance agrees on a framework of reconfiguration on how they will operate. When we're supposed to implement this thing, the ANC said, no, let's consult with the ANC structures, the NGC, through the NGC and so forth, where the branch members can participate in this particular process. That never happened because of COVID-19. ANC, NGC never took place. So this document was therefore, despite being agreed by the ANC, NEC, was never taken to the structures of the ANC. And post our 2022 15th Congress of the party, which Congress then gave us a strict timelines. For instance, they said by the next augmented central committee, which was our augmented central committee was always taking place end of the year in December, our last central committee, which we expand to our district secretaries and extra members of the PC who are not necessarily members of the central committee. That's why we call it augmented central committee. They said by that date, we should have taken a decision. If there's no reconfiguration of the alliance, we should be able to prepare to stand for elections on our own. So we met with the ANC leadership to tell them this, that this is the reality coming out of our Congress in September of that year. In our meeting, we agreed. The ANC said to us, they will convene a special NEC meeting to discuss this question of the reconfiguration, including this recent decision of the SACP, which process never took place. And kind of understanding, because we have always been under the understanding component in the alliance, by the way, particularly in our relationship with the ANC. We accepted that on the basis that they were faced with a conference in December, and there were many court challenges about that particular conference, and the national officials were therefore up and down dealing with this kind of a thing. You'll also remember that suspended their Secretary General at the time. So that October period when they promised us to convene a special NEC to discuss this thing never happened. And ultimately, their own policy conference and discussion document never really placed forward this question of the reconfiguration of the alliance. That is why, in the run-up to NASREC, I had a critique of the ANC leadership going to those who were contesting the elections, largely on three grounds. One was that none of them are able to explain what they will do to reconfigure the alliance, and that this reconfiguration of the alliance was only used for them to harness votes to the conference, that they are committed to the alliance. Secondly is that none of them was espousing a different economic trajectory that can tackle the crisis of poverty in our country, the crisis of unemployment, and the deepening inequality, which is what we call the reproductive crisis, social reproductive crisis of capital in our society. That crisis is not being tackled by any of the candidates was something else. Thirdly was that none of the candidates was committed to a